From suit designer to the stars to African activist, he's a man who has translated a childhood love of clothes into an international business. A tailor who has turned tradition on its head and is now obsessed by twin passions.
Because if we get it right in Africa, we all win.
U.S. President Barack Obama's visit to Ghana this year brought the African country to a virtual standstill.
Here in Ghana, you show us a face of Africa that is too often overlooked by a world that sees only tragedy or a need for charity.
For weeks prior to the visit, most people spoke of little else.
I remember even before his plane landed, it was like the country was moving from the excitement of just the knowledge that he's even in the air.
One of them.
It was, you know, from the youngest kid to someone that kind of maybe older politicians, the excitement was clear. And to be there to experience it was amazing for me.
London-based designer OZWALD BOATENG had traveled to the Ghanaian capital Accra with a suit he had made specially for the president. For BOATENG, who was born and raised in Britain, it was the latest visit to his parents' homeland, a visit to Africa, a continent he has always loved.
So there was always a knowledge of knowing where you're from. So, you know, you're from Ghana, you know, you're Ashanti, you know, you're from the town called Mampong, and, you know, that has always been implied, and the family, you know, always were going back to Ghana consistently over, you know, the whole period of time that I was born. So I was always used to the experience of the trips back home.
BOATENG first came into the public eye in the 1990s, with his bespoke suits attracting critical acclaim and celebrity customers. Fashion experts say he always stood apart from the crowd.
As a personality, he stands literally head and shoulders above the rest. He's his own best advert, and that can be said for very few fashion designers. And I would suspect that every suit that he sells is probably cut with OZWALD in mind.
He set up shop in one of London's most traditional streets, and eyebrows were immediately raised.
To be a young, extremely good-looking black man on Savile Row was when he started and remains an anomaly. He was certainly a breath of fresh air, not just in himself but in his work, his colours, his cut. It was a very flamboyant look that he brought to it and that he still has.
I met him in his flagship store and was keen to know where his love of clothing design came from. Let's talk about that success here. Why design suits? Where did that come from? Where did the passion for tailoring come from? Yeah.
So my father always wore suits, and the suits represent respectability, and also suits are very traditionally British. So as you know, in a way the suit was exported to Africa. So you remember a lot of leaders wearing tailored suits. It was kind of, I mean, it was somewhat was part of the colonialism, but in the same breath, it was almost an embrace of respect, of achievement as well. So I'd grown up with that. So what happened is and that's all maybe subconscious, I don't know, because my father wore suits. And then when I realized I had time for designing, my initial ideas were quite wild and out there and had nothing to do with tailoring.
BOATENG faced a problem common to a lot of young people: how to please his parents while simultaneously impressing his friends. Eventually, he came up with designs that he thought both groups would like. He was in his late 20s, and it was at this point in his life that someone told him about Savile Row. He became the first black tailor to open a shop on the Row.
But when I got here, I understood that what I was doing needed to be on the street, wanted to help it and breathe new life into it. But also by doing that, I was also dealing with, it's like one, building something new, and also building something new from the inside, and also changing perceptions.
Well, that's the thing. How did you feel that, because Savile Row, we're talking about an old establishment here,
Yeah.
Savile Row tailors are part of the British establishment.
That's right.
Yes, you were born here, but did you feel like you were an outsider when you started?
No, because the thing is, my dad brought me up with, I didn't have the sort of typical, the hang-ups or the issues of, colour. I mean, of course, I experienced problems. I mean, growing up in London in the 70s it just was what it was. The riots, the skinheads. I mean, that was just normal. But the thing is I never took it as they had. I never took the issue as being my issue. I just kind of went, well, I'll just get on with what I've got to do. So I never allowed that to be I viewed almost taking on any issues of someone's perception of me as their issue, and not as a reason why I can't do what I've got to do. It needs to be the big thing. I can't do it because I'm black, right? I can't do this, and I never took that on. I was like, actually, just do it.
In addition to operating out of London, BOATENG also spent 2 years designing for French fashion house Givenchy, starting in 2003. But as the years have passed, it is his passion for Africa that appears to be his primary concern.
It's a beautiful place, and I'm frustrated by the open drains. I'm frustrated about the fact that, there's a road from Accra to Kumasi, and it takes you 5 hours to do something that should maybe take you 45 minutes. So it's out of frustration of saying, well, why is it like this? I understand in great detail why that happens, but that doesn't mean we don't try to change that. And so I think there's an obligation from also the younger generation to try.
Next on African Voices, BOATENG explains exactly what he's doing to help.